Some movement. Okay. Whenever I wake up, I feel happy. Aware of my eyes, I feel happy. Aware of my health, I feel happy. Because I have learned to look deeply. Whenever I walk, I feel happy. Whenever I sit, I feel happy. Whenever I rest, I feel happy. Because I have learned to look deeply. Thank you, mọi người. Ok, giờ mình hát bài nào nữa? Breathing in, breathing out. Yeah, okay, any of the children, if you like to come up here and sing with us, you can. We invite you to come up. Có mấy em nào? Anyone want to come up here and sing with us? Be a flower, no? Be a mountain. How about the teens? Any brave young man, young lady, come up here and sing with us. Ok, lên đi con, để anh chị chụp hình làm kỷ niệm. Ok. So, maybe come up here. No? You can come up here and sing with us. No? No, mắc cỡ, mấy em còn mắc cỡ. Trời ta, vài em rồi. Mấy em lên ngồi đây nè, mình hát chung với nhau rồi để các anh chị chụp cái hình làm kỷ niệm cho mấy em nhé. Vô đây nè sư cô, cho các em ngồi đây nè. Đó. Okay, children program, let us sing breathing in, breathing out together, okay? Okay, ngồi xuống, mấy em ngồi xuống. You guys can sit down and you offer your freshness to các anh chị huynh trưởng, các bác gia trưởng đó ha. Standing like tree, breathe out. Okay, rồi. Two promises too? Okay, let's do it. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as a dew. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I feel there is space deep inside of me. Okay, being free. I am free, I am free, I am free. Yeah, cho các em nở hoa cho các em nè, dễ thương, dễ thương. Bây giờ các em hát Two Promises ha. Thì mình đến chùa, mình nương tựa Tam Bảo để mình vun trồng cái thiện nghiệp ha. Mình lìa xa những cái không có dễ thương. Cho nên mình hứa mình nuôi dưỡng cái hiểu nè, mình từ bi với các người xung quanh, rồi mình từ bi với các loài nha. So we compassionate, to ourselves, to other people, and to all the animals, okay? Okay. I vow to develop understanding in order to live peacefully with people, animals, plants, and minerals. Animal, plants, and minerals. Now breathe, okay? One more time. I vow to develop my compassion in order to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. Animals, plants, and minerals. And now, Yes, wonderful. Nở hoa cho các em nhỏ, nở hoa cho các em nhỏ. Okay, I know one more song that you guys learn how to sing, right? Okay, standing like a tree. Can we stand up? Standing like a tree. Be yourself. Grow strong, grow solid, okay? Okay. Standing like a tree with my roots dug down, my branches wide and open. Come down the rain, come down the sun, come down the fruit to the heart that is open to be standing like a tree with my roots dug down, my branches wide and open. Come down the rain, come down the sun, come down the fruit to the heart that is open to be standing like a tree. Faster! My roots dug down, my branches wide and open. Come down the rain, come down the sun, come down the fruit to the heart that is open to be standing like a tree. Yeah, thank you các em. Ok, giờ các em có thể trở về chỗ ngồi nè. Ok, các em trở về chỗ ngồi. Then come back to your seat. And then we come back to our breath and sit beautifully. And then we can return to our breath and touch the present moment, touch our body. Okay, you can close your eye and relax, okay? As we clear the stage and we're about to invite our sister, our Dharma teacher, to give us a sharing, okay? Thank you so much for singing with us, Mika.
Dạ con kính thưa toàn thể đại chúng, Pháp thoại hôm nay là bằng tiếng Anh. Nếu ai mà muốn nghe thông dịch thì đến nhận earphone với cái máy thông dịch ở phía góc sau này.
Testing the headset. Peace, testing. Dear friends, can you hear me in the back all right? Please raise your hand if you can hear me, especially in the back. Okay. How about can you all hear me okay? Yes. Okay, great. I'd really like to ask if the young ones, 6 to 12 in the children program, would you be able to sit over here? Because I'd like to have you take a look at the plant. So our friends here, can you scoot over here? Is that okay? Yeah, you can scoot over, maybe sit together with friends here. Yeah, could you scoot over? Anyone who's in the 6 to 12, you can near closer to the plant. Thank you. So as my brother shared, today's talk will be in English. So if anyone needs translation, there's translation in the back. Dear respected Thay, dear respected Venerable, dear brothers and sisters, and dear noble community, we'll begin with 3 sounds of the bell and invite everyone just to come back to their breath. Young ones can sit just 1/3 of the cushion, so your knees are touching the mat. You can move back and forth kind of like a joystick until you find the center. It's really important, especially your head, very heavy, right? So if you want to keep it right in the center, your neck won't get tired, your shoulders won't get tired. And then just kind of roll your shoulders up and back and relax. This is what we call upright, relaxed position. This is the position that the Buddha had when he awoke. We'll listen to 3 sounds of the bell. And young ones, you can even put your hand on your belly if you'd like, so you can really feel the rise and fall of your abdomen as we listen to the sound of the bell together. Dear Noble Community, today is June 15th, 2025, on the last day of the 3-day retreat for Yadin Phakbu at Blue Cliff Monastery. We're in the Great Togetherness Hall. So for our young folks, I'd like to share with you an experiment and also to ask you to join in an experiment today. You might not be able to see it, but I'd like to draw your attention to that tray of plants sitting in front right there. And you're welcome to move up if you can't see it. So these are baby bitter melon plants, hokwa. And they look like that now, but maybe about 4 or 5 weeks ago, our 2 sisters, our sisters who work in the garden, Sister Fragrant River Sister Hung Yang and Sister Hui Yai, Sister Insight, she's sitting at the bell. They were the two sisters who were sitting up here singing earlier. They're very diligent gardeners, and they planted 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe about 12 or 13 seeds in that small tray. And then they they had soil, they planted the seeds carefully, and then they watered it, and then they put it out in the light, special light, to see if it would grow in preparation for our garden. Because at Blue Cliff it's very cold, so most of the plants they had to plant beforehand so that they could sprout indoors when it's warm. So when it got warmer, the plants would be there in time. So there was a lot of care, a lot of attention that went to prepping this. And then about 3 weeks ago, we took this tray and we put it into a dark room, closed up to do an experiment. And we decided to film it to see what goes on when we're not watching the plants. So from time to time we would water it and just check up on it for a period of 8 days. And so what you see here is the end result right now. Okay? So now I'd like to ask you to watch this video. It's a very short 2-minute video. And my question to you is, what do you notice? Okay? Okay. By the way, of our young ones, how many of you can read Vietnamese? Okay, how about our teens? How many of our teens can read Vietnamese? Okay. So this says the days of growing up of our baby khổ qua, our baby bitter melons. What do you notice? Take note of the one all the way on the left there, the baby one on the left. That's the 5th day. Seventh day. Eighth day. Time to plant them into the ground. So, I don't know about you, but when I first saw this, I noticed some very new things about plants that I've never seen before. How about you? Anyone see something brand new about plants? like to ask for you to volunteer. You can just call out. What's one new thing that you saw? I'm going to call on you. Is that okay? How about you? What was one new thing that you saw? The plants were growing. Thank you. Yeah. How often do we actually see a plant grow, right? Because it's quite slow. Can you say that one more time so we could hear it?
The plants are growing.
The plants are growing, right? We don't often see, actually, I don't think I've ever seen a plant grow before, right? How about our friend next to you? Yeah, what else did you see?
The seeds were like falling off the plant.
Mm-hmm. My friend said the seeds were falling off the plant. So the seed, that brown thing that you saw at the beginning was the beginning of the plant, right? And now we see it like that. And actually, when you look at this right now, the tallest one, the one in the back, is actually the smallest one at the beginning, the baby one that I pointed out at the beginning. Okay, one more thing. Did anyone notice any movement? Yes. Our friend over here. Sister, sorry for sister for making you move.
It wiggled a lot.
It wiggled a lot. Who knew that plants actually move, right? I felt like we were dancing with the plants.
The soil was moving.
The soil was moving. That tells me something about the soil, that it's quite actually alive, right? Usually we look at a clod of dirt and we don't think it's alive at all, but did anyone see the tracks being made, right? So there's things that are very alive that makes up part of the soil. Anyone else? Any new things? Our friend here? Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. One more new thing. You want to say? Yes, our friend over here. Sorry, Tanling.
Some of the plants grow quicker or slower than the others.
Some of the plants were growing more quickly than the others, right? Yeah, and when we watch it one more time later on, you'll see that halfway through, we turned it around because, just like our friend said, some of the plants that were slow starting to sprout up, so we turned it around so that we had a chance to look at it more carefully. Thank you. Yeah, so I was very nourished by watching the plants grow because I've never had a chance to witness plants dance before. And what it tells me is that life is very alive and it's always changing. But sometimes, or maybe oftentimes, we don't know that things are changing because it needs a few conditions for us to actually see. Here we were lucky that we had a camera to slow or speed up the time over 8 days, right? And most of us don't have the luxury to sit still for 8 days. Or actually, we don't have the capacity to sit still and really look carefully at something for 8 days to see it blossom. So I said that there are a couple of conditions that help us to actually be able to start to see a little bit like the camera saw, to see these small changes happening in the plants, in the animals around us, in our parents, even inside of ourselves. It requires a few elements, and that's what I'd like to share with you today. So, oftentimes we're running. Like when you get called, you go to recess, and you go outside, the first thing you do is you run outside, right? And just like our body, our mind also runs. We're talking to our friend, and I'm talking, and I don't see these stairs, and I trip and I fall. Boom, right? So we're not really present to observe what's around us, let alone something very subtle, very quiet, like the plants growing, right? So the first condition that we cultivate so that we can kind of grow this capacity, this power to look deeply into things, is the practice of pausing, okay? Many of us have different ways of pausing. Like when you hear the bell in the dining hall, you see maybe some of the brothers and sisters, they close their eyes, they're eating, they put down their things, and their body becomes still. For me, when I pause, when I really intentionally pause, I look at my hands. So the first thing is we practice to stop. And how many of us here in the children's program have practiced this to some degree, right? Is it usually with the bell, right? Is it when someone says, I'd like to share something? We stop, right? So this is pause, stopping. And when we pause, we have a chance to bring in the second element that helps us to look more carefully. So we stop all that chatter. We're talking with our friends, we're moving with our body, we're moving with our thoughts. And instead of all of that kind of stormy weather outside, we come back to something very grounded, which is our belly breathing. Some of us have bigger bellies than others, right? Mine's getting bigger. So belly breathing means we come back to our breath. So I'd like to invite you to put your hands on your belly. And belly breathing simply means that you feel your breath. Even though my eyes are open, my awareness is right here where my hands are. And I breathe fully. I feel the rise and the fall of my breath. And when I'm focused here, that means I'm no longer in that whirlwind, that hurricane around me that doesn't allow me to see clearly. I'm very centered. And my body becomes still. And my mind becomes calm when I breathe in. So we take at least 2 or 3 calming, peaceful breaths like that. It's a little easier to do here. Some of you are practicing so beautifully. Thank you. And then the last thing that we do, because I want to see more carefully this plant, is once I have that presence, that stillness, then I connect with curiosity. I connect with my heart open to look, to hear, to see, to feel, to sense what is going on in this seemingly still, quiet, dead space. We've already seen that actually a lot is going on right now, right? Even as I'm speaking, it's still moving. It's still growing. It's still finding the light. It's just that we haven't been still enough to see it. Okay? So it's like that with things around us, and it's also like that with things inside of us. Someone was very astute. One of our friends said that she saw the seeds. I wish you could see it a little more closely, but she said the seeds fell off. This is how tiny it was. Who knew that something so large could come out of something so small? And actually, many of us have a habit of eating certain seeds, right? We eat the inside of the seeds, but the inside of the seed is actually the life force that makes the plant grow, that gives it the energy that it needs to sprout up. Okay, so it makes life more interesting when we can observe things that other people cannot see. Sometime you may be at school and it's very noisy around you, and instead of being caught in the whirlwind of blah, 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 you can come back to this very simple grounding practice. However you want to pause. Pause, pause, pause. Feel your breath. Feel your body. And then connect with something that really matters to you. Maybe it's a friend who's sharing something that they really want you to hear. Maybe it's something outside like nature. Maybe it's a hurt feeling in your body. And this is how we nurture this capacity to be present. And every time you come to a place like the monastery, you strengthen this capacity to be more alive because you are in touch with life more deeply. So you're living life more deeply. When you go out today, I'd like to invite you, I don't know if there's time, but I noticed down by the garden, who knows where the garden is? Oh, okay, we have a big garden down that way. Along the road near the garden, there are many puddles, and there are literally hundreds of tadpoles. Some of them have turned into tiny frogs, the size of this seed. Some of them still have fat tails and fat bodies, and some of them look like circles. They just look like seeds because they haven't started sprouting their tails and toes and whatever else they sprout. But I'd like to invite you to use this same practice to pause, come back to your body with the breath, and don't cheat, okay? You have to go through these steps to really be present, and then connect with your heart and look and see if you can see something new about a tadpole. You might think you know something about the tadpole, like we thought we knew all about plants until we stopped, slowed down, and looked more deeply. So when you do that, I'd like to invite you to share with one another something new that you saw about the tadpole. So now to end, I'd like to invite you one more time to to observe. Well, the first time we observed it without pausing. So let's go through that practice one more time. Let's pause with whatever we're doing, moving around, fidgeting, scratching an itch. Pause and take, say, 2 deep breaths. Really feel the abdomen rise and fall. Can you put your hand on your abdomen for me? Only you can feel what it feels like for you to breathe, no one else. Calm breath, peaceful breath. Now I want you to connect with this video, following your breath. Just watch and observe and see, again, if you can see something new. The back row has 4 seeds that haven't sprouted. You see all in the back. They haven't come up yet, but you see them starting to pop up. And then near disaster struck, we watered it too much and it got flooded. And we switched it around so that we could see the new buds coming up. See, the second one from the left is fighting for space. Near the end, you'll see it pop out from underneath the other leaf. Okay, thank you. So between the moment of the seed and the plant, there are many, many moments in between. And the more present we are, the more we can see these in-between moments. Okay, so that's my invitation to you. Now with the next sound of the bell, inviting all the children to stand up and turn around to face your friends and family. Stand up and turn facing. Then we can bow to our friends and family with the next sound of the bell. Thank you, dear children. And then you can go and play. For the last session of the children's program, you can follow Sister Tanlung, Sister Freshness. Our children are like those plants. They're just a little bit more mobile. Okay, while we're waiting for our children to leave, can I ask for our teens in the teen program? There's like 26 of you. Can you raise your hand so I know where you're at? It's very rare when the teen program outnumbers the children program. We're really especially grateful that you all came and supported Yadin Phaktu and supported one another too. How many of our teens have younger siblings who are here too? Yeah, okay. So the younger ones, they especially have a short attention span, right? Have you noticed? They'll want something and then they'll drop it or they'll forget and they'll run to something else. And so we have an advantage as older siblings a little bit, that we have a longer capacity to pay attention and to concentrate. But it's not a given. Just because we're older doesn't necessarily mean we have a quicker attention span. Right? It depends on what's being watered in us. Sometimes in the family, there will be parents who, because of strong habits, they act in a way that waters the seed of impatience in you. Or maybe your family takes vacation besides the monastery. Maybe you go to places that are not so beneficial for your peace of mind. You go to a casino and that seed of craving, that seed of wanting to move fast, to get more, to get quickly, to be impulsive is watered in you. So it's not a given that just because you're a little bit older than your sibling that you are more peaceful, more spacious, more calm. It really depends on a number of factors. So yesterday, our brother shared in the talk that we are very lucky if we have, first of all, a community, which we call a sangha. We call it Yadin Phaktu, call it the monasteries. People who we can practice with, who water the good seeds in us. Because we need the help. We don't do it all by ourselves. Secondly, we're lucky if we have a chance to regularly hear teachings that remind us of deeper truths, that life is everywhere, for example, not just in our devices, but everywhere. And lastly, the most important is we're lucky if we actually have a real practice that breathes life into our life as a Buddhist practitioner. So here at Blue Cliff, we like to say that Buddhism is a practice and not a belief. It's a way of living based on our experience of touching suffering and touching joy and knowing how to nourish both. And if you are able to sit still like you are right now, to some degree, it's because you've had the support of both your sangha, the teachings, and your own personal practice that allows you to show up the way you are beautifully right now. So being older, you have the capacity to be more attentive and more concentrated and more still, but it needs to be watered. And so especially as you shift into gearing towards adulthood, there are a couple of challenges that we want to kind of support you with. And this is called the practice of patience, the practice of, we call it the virtue of patience. Who here knows what the 6 paramitas are? Have you ever heard of the 6 paramitas? Okay. I'm going to ask one of our elders to share. Any of our elders know what the 6 paramitas are? Help out our younger ones. Or make it easier, can you name one of the balamat? Yes? I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Can you name one? Bodhi, yes. Dana, generosity. Okay, so there are 6 virtues or 6 practices that are very important to allow us to move in the direction of freedom, of wellness, of well-being. And they're called the 6 paramitas, or the 6 perfections. We perfect it in order to go to the other shore of liberation. So our friend here mentioned one is the practice of generosity, dana, bodhi. Right? The second one, which you may have touched in your sharings in the teen program, are the 5 mindfulness trainings. Shila, our precepts, the guidelines that tell us, I should do this and I shouldn't do that. If I do this, it'll make me and other people suffer. If I do this, it'll bring more peace and happiness to others. And the third of the 6 paramitas is patience. Nyang nyup. I hope I pronounced that right? Nyang nyup. Patience. And this is especially important for you as you start to touch adulthood. Why is this important for you? Why do you care to be more patient instead of just letting yourself go and flying off the handle? Because as you grow older, your parents and people around you start to give you more responsibilities. You take on new roles and responsibilities. Maybe some of you have part-time work. Who here's working now? Right? You're given more chores. You're expected to do a little bit more than you did when you were little. And sometimes those responsibilities and the things that you have to do, they don't sit too well with us. And so we start to touch some uncomfortable, what we call unpleasant feelings. And without that third element of support, practice, it's easy for us to become irresponsible, to put it aside, to procrastinate, to do all sorts of things that are not really in our best interest. So we have to have a practice to know how to anchor ourselves so that we don't get carried away by that unpleasant feeling of ugh, ick, yuck, right? And it has to do with what we shared with the children, but there's a little bit more to it. The second one, and I want to ask you to see if you can identify this. As we grow, our body changes. We start to be in different relationships with our social peers, right? In maybe romantic interests, or our cliques change with our interests. And any type of change means we're challenged. Where our idea of who we are is challenged. So who I thought I was in 6th grade, now at grade 8, and especially when I jump into high school, grade 9 and 10, is being challenged. And it can be a little bit stressful if we don't know how to handle this challenge. When people don't see us the way we used to see ourselves. When people make us feel bad about who we are. When people have different values than the values that we have. There's a lot of pressure sometimes to shift and not honor who we are just to get by out there in school, just to pretend, right? So these areas are the areas that challenge us and needs support by this practice of patience, of nyang-yuk. And I'm sure at home, parents also would greatly, greatly appreciate if they saw the children a little bit more patient when it comes to certain interactions. Okay. So how do we remain present and patient when we come across some difficulties? The children, when we asked them to look at the plant, that was not a stress at all. It's actually fun to look and see things that are pleasant. But when we're asked to stay still, to come back and not think about unpleasant things, but just to be present without thinking and face those difficulties and challenges, it's much more difficult. And that's why we call this paramita of patience a practice. We try, we may not succeed, then we learn how to be more skillful and we try again. So we add a couple of elements to make it easier for us. Before we pause, we practice to find that all-important bell of mindfulness. That becomes the first thing, the bell of mindfulness. Here, we use a very neutral thing. Once I was in a not very comfortable relationship with one of my sisters here, and I reminded her something at a meeting, and she said, "Why don't we use the bell instead of you reminding me?" Because it's neutral, right? But when we practice with suffering, we intelligently use that thing that causes us suffering as the bell. Okay? So let's say we have a conversation and that person is berating us, is putting us down. Our immediate reaction, if we don't have a practice, is to withdraw or to put ourselves down and laugh it off, laugh at ourselves, judge ourselves, or judge the person that hurt us. But now we're learning a new way. We're learning to use those words that were hurtful, not to go into the hurt, but to use that as a bell to do the same practice. This tells us to go into the practice of stopping thinking, coming back to a safe place inside of ourselves, which is our breath. No one can take that space of refuge away from you. In fact, if you look around among your peers, those who are centered, who have their head about them, are not running around like a chicken with their head cut off, those are the ones you tend to trust more because you know they are present and they are aware and they know what they're about. Right? So we're training in that direction. Hurtful words, instead of reacting, pause, come back, take 3 breaths. And then we give rise to compassion for ourselves or for the other person or for the situation. This is the essential key to the practice of patience. Many of us have not had this seed of compassion watered because maybe those around us don't speak very kindly. So we have to learn the language of compassion. The body language is the smile. Our teacher often says when we send compassion to ourselves, it means we smile to that feeling of hurt. We cradle that feeling of anger. So this embodiment through the hands holding ourselves, our ability to smile, is the way we give rise to compassion. And we send it to ourselves, We send it to the other person who was ignorant enough to say those things, who didn't really know us. We send compassion to a situation like there's a lot of violence going on out in the world. And we send compassion to all of the people who are involved in war right now because we have collectively not yet found a way to find a way out. So we're not judging ourselves or the other person or the situation. It's just compassion, and that already protects us. That already gives us the energy, like the seed gives the plant energy to stay through the course, see through the course of the issue, to be patient. Without compassion, it's just suffering. And that's the difference between enduring, getting through something, and really having patience to look more carefully at the situation. Okay, so once we give rise to compassion, the necessary step that we go through is we embrace that bell, what it is that came up. We have to take care of it. We embrace. Okay? Too many of us have neglected ourselves, pretending that it doesn't matter, until one day someone says something and we blow up. It means it really mattered. It really got under my skin that you said that, but I'm just going to ignore it. So this is part of our practice of patience. We have to take care of what we call the mud so that we can maintain a clarity, an open heart to then connect again with our friend who hurt us. If we don't do this, if we go to this, it's actually kind of fake. We're just pretending to connect, but we're really harboring negative feelings. Okay? So this is for all of us, but especially for our teens. I'd like you to really take note of these. You are in the position of really having to lean into the practice of patience. More so, perhaps, than your younger siblings, right? So you need to add these elements to your repertoire of practice. Okay. So what this gives you is resilience. Whereas perhaps before you would react or you would complain behind someone's back, I can't believe he said that. Or retaliation, now you have a resilience to remain calm, peaceful, and even one step more beautifully, compassionate towards the person who was not kind to you. This is called resilience. So let's take an example. Can you raise your hand again if you have some kind of work, chore that you've been tasked that you don't particularly like to do? I saw a number of hands up here. What kind of things do mom and dad ask you to do more around the house? I'm going to ask our friend here. Yeah. Yes, the one who's turning your head. A friend said sometimes his parents ask him to wash the dishes, and he doesn't like it because it gets his hands dirty. And before, did you have to do that when you were younger? Like 5? No. How old are you now? Sorry? 15? Right, okay. So now you're expected to wash the dishes. Who here is asked to take the trash out? Yeah, right. What other chores? Do the laundry? Before, mom did that all the time. Is mom still doing that for you? Okay, so there's these things that are like, I'd rather do other stuff, right? So let's take this as an example. Let's take our friend's example of washing the dishes. I just finished eating. I just want to go to my room. But mom and dad tells me I have to wash the dishes. That feeling of is the thing that we're asking you to use as a bell. Right? Okay. So I'm going to frame this like a challenge. We're going to call this the 1 earth challenge before we go into it. Kind of like a ice bucket challenge, but this is One Earth Challenge. And the reason we call it the One Earth Challenge is because the earth, like something very vast, like the ocean, has the capacity to receive all sorts of stuff with inclusivity, with patience. And what we want you to do is to be able to have that patience as vast as the earth, so that when something negative, challenging, boring, irritating, angry, frustrating comes up, you know how to receive it like the earth, open with it, and be able to transform it. And that's the beauty of patience. Patience isn't just to trying to get through it, but to be able to transform that icky feeling of, I have to wash the dishes. Okay, so walk through it with me, okay? I have to wash the dishes. Oh, that feeling of this facial expression, that's my bell of mindfulness. Why do I have to suffer through this? This is my bell. Right away, we pause. We practice to stop. In Buddhism, we call that samatha, stopping. And instead of falling thought, how come my brother or sister doesn't wash the dishes today? Why do I have to do it all the time? We stop. We stop all that. We come back to the refuge of our island of our breath. Take 2, 3 breaths. And then we call it, we give rise to compassion for that feeling. Oh, I feel irritated. And I'm going to take care of that irritation. I smile to that irritation. It's not going to control me. It's not going to make me yell at my mom or dad or my brother. It's not going to make me throw away my dishes away and sneak back to my room. No. I'm going to stop and take care of that feeling. And then I'm going to come back to that with open eyes, with an open heart. And this way, we transform that negative feeling. We start to connect. Oh, I'm washing the dishes. When I wash the dishes, it makes a lot more space in the kitchen for other people to use. That's a joy for them. It's a joy for them, it's a joy for me. Oh, when I wash the dishes, that means when mom comes back, she doesn't have to do it, and she's very tired lately. And that'll make her happy. That makes me happy. See? So when we do this practice, we clear away the obstacles that allow our heart to open and become more caring, more loving towards our environment, including our parents, including our siblings. Okay. So we all have positive and negative seeds. We call them wholesome and unwholesome seeds. None of us are perfect. All of us are in the process of growing, becoming, and adapting. So the important part isn't whether we are perfect or not. And as our friend so astutely pointed out, each of the plants are very different from one another. Some of them ripen quicker and some ripen slower. So it's really not, it's not very helpful to compare, ourselves. But the important thing is to know that we are always in the process of becoming something. We are always in the process of being in that intermediate step into being something else. Sometimes as teens, we want to be somewhere faster than we are. But wanting that, sometimes it causes some suffering, right? You want something, you want to drive the car, you want to get your license, you want to go out, you want to be able to do this and that, and mom and dad say, no, right? So this is, again, the space where we can train our muscle. Take on the One Earth Challenge and see where you can reclaim your peace of mind. And it's funny because from the parent side, you might already know this, but sometimes when, as younger folks, we show restraint, we show forbearance, we show patience, it gives our parents even more trust that we are mature enough, and then they're more likely to negotiate with us, right? So it's a kind of win-win situation. So coming out of this retreat, I hope the teen program will have had a chance to touch a little bit about the 5 mindfulness trainings, to see how we can be aware of trouble spots and avoid them, to get to know our mind before things get too complicated. I wouldn't want us to fall into like addictions, right? Or harmful relationships with other people without knowing ahead of time that, oh, this is an area that we have to be extra careful to take care to pause and reflect, to take care of our irritations before acting out on them. So we are good gardeners when we take care of our mind. And our only responsibility as practitioners really is to continue to take care of the conditions, to bring a bit of awareness to our actions so that we are not acting recklessly, and to reflect. Okay? And as long as we're doing that, we can entrust to all of those beautiful seeds that are in our soil. In the garden, there are a lot of seeds that are already there. And our gardeners, they do the daily work of weeding, of looking carefully, of watering the right plants. But they're not growing the plants are growing themselves. So those positive qualities in you, the things that you tend to compare yourself with other people, you don't have to worry about them. If they haven't manifested yet, they will, as long as you continue to water them. Be in a good environment. Remember to nourish those teachings, those practices, to be in good environment of other spiritual friends. And then those qualities will come all by themselves. Our gardeners didn't pull those plants up from the soil. They just came up on their own with some help, with some care, and with some trust. Okay. So with the children, we share with them, there's always something new to see if you just take the chance to stop and look. And with our teens, we want to say, there's always something new to see, and there's always something that you can believe in when you look deeply inside of yourself. Our friends are a big influence on us, but you should know also that you are a big influence on your friends. And what you can do to center and hear your voice, and when you can say, no, actually, I don't think doing that is wise. I think that's actually kind of a stupid idea. That is something that can support your friends, right? So just as they influence you, you are a pillar to help positively influence them. And that's why it's so helpful to have a practice to hear yourself, to become a refuge for yourself first. In 2009, many of our brothers and sisters, I think over 400 brothers and sisters, were kicked out of their monastery. Do you know about this story? Okay, at Bat Nha Monastery in Vietnam, the government finally put their foot down and evicted all 400 of our monastics. And they did so in a quite violent way. They were quite challenged to maintain their peace. They cut off their electricity, they cut off the water, they interfered with the food lines, they berated them, they threw excrement at them, they threw insults at them, they dragged them out of the monastery. You know, as monastics, we are very used to being peaceful, so you can imagine what a shock it was, what a challenge it was for our poor monastics to be subject to such violence. There's no other way to say it. It's violence. And yet, because our teacher has instilled in his disciples this practice of patience, of forbearance, they were able to not react violently. Not one person beat the people that were beating them. Not one person cursed back the people that were actively shouting, cursing in their faces, pulling them, hurting them. And instead, what they did was exactly what I'm sharing here. They gave rise to compassion for themselves, for their situation, but also for the people who were harming them. They did so by coming back to themselves, taking care of those injuries in their heart, and then sending love, the energy of love and compassion, to those who were hurting us. So I share this because if in a situation like that where you are physically being violated, and you can maintain that heart of compassion and that stillness and peace, then for me that's an inspiration in my daily life. I think I was not there when that happened, but if my siblings could do that, then certainly when I come across a disagreement with one of my sisters or brothers here, I can practice with that much easier than what they had to do, and they were able to do it. I share this with you because I want you to know that this is a very real path of peace, a real path of stability and refuge for you, for all of us. So I know our teens are staying on, so please indulge me a little bit. I just wanted to share a little bit for our adults. Thank you for coming and bringing the young ones, entrusting the seeds in this environment. Today we've been focusing on the paramita of patience, and it serves us from childhood all the way through to adulthood. Yesterday, Brother Fapalak was sharing about the immeasurable minds. He shared about the first two immeasurable minds of loving kindness and compassion. And the practice of patience is related very much to another immeasurable mind, the fourth immeasurable mind of equanimity or inclusiveness. And I'm thinking about our families when I'm sharing about this, how we practice the immeasurable minds and practice patience with people directly around us. So that immeasurable mind is called upeksha, which is called equanimity, or as our teacher Thay would translate it, inclusiveness, because there's no pushing away, there's no negating, and there's a patience and a care to receive anything that comes up in our children towards us. Right? So time flies very quickly. We see this happen at the monastery. And I was sharing with a sister recently that some of the young ones who come, I wished that I had had the foresight to mark their height on the door. So every time they come, they could see just how quickly they shoot up. It's a reminder of impermanence for us and also for them. I'm sure as adults in the family, as parents, you also, with very busy lives, sometimes turn one way and then turn around and suddenly you see your child has Voklin, right? And they've become something that you hard to recognize. So time is very fleeting sometimes. And the practice of patience helps us to reclaim this space of appreciation for one another. Sometimes when we want the best for our children, we place certain expectations. They have to be like this or they have to be like that. And because we ourselves are still on the journey of practicing to take care of our own perceptions, our own wounds, we have not yet maybe been able to be at peace with who we are. It then influences the way we are not in peace with the way our children are. So we know our children, they are growing and they're changing every day, even though it might not look like it sometimes. Sometimes there's seeds of stubbornness that come up. You know, change doesn't seem like it's happening, but as we shared with the young ones, things are bubbling. They're changing inside. We just don't yet see it, maybe because we haven't given ourselves the conditions to look carefully and give our child the space. In Buddhism, we have what is called the path of wisdom. It's a very wise way. It's how do we say? Vang tu tu, right? Where the person hears, person reflects, and then they practice what they are taught. And that is the Buddhist practitioner's way of growing wisdom. And I thought perhaps this might be an interesting thing for our parents to reflect on. When we share with our children, we'd like you to do this, we don't want you to do that. Is it in the spirit of Vang Bu Bu? Do we give them space to reflect? Or do we expect them to do it right away? Do we give them the trust that they have the capacity to look at themselves, reflect, and try their own way to practice? Or are we putting a little bit too much of an expectation on them? It's an open question for inquiry. Because in Buddhist practice, the self-awakening is the thing that is most long-lasting. We can force our children to do things, but if they do not yet see why, then they will really not own it. They will really not understand why. And then when the conditions are there, they may rebel. So the longer lasting practice is to help lead them to an understanding by giving them space to reflect and by trusting them. Just like we trust the seeds to grow, we don't micromanage, but we trust them to grow. We just offer conditions around them. So I wanted to end just by sharing a calligraphy of our teacher. I like the Vietnamese version better than the English. It says, xem đọc cho chị đây. You hear that? Kiên nhẫn là dấu ấn của tình thương. In English it says, patience is a mark of true love. But to be more accurate, is patience is, you see it? Patience is a hallmark of true love. And that gift of trust and patience to allow things to grow is a real fertilizer for our relationships and for our younger ones to feel supported to step forward and try and make mistakes and try again. The extent that we are all here as families, it means that our parents who are here are already very beautiful and good gardeners. So I'd like to acknowledge that and again appreciate you for creating the conditions to continually nourish these beautiful seeds that we have here. Thank you for listening and wishing everyone from young to older to oldest happiness in the joyful labor of gardening for ourselves and for our loved ones. Thank you.
Dạ con xin quý thầy quý sư cô mình ở lại chút xíu nghe. Còn chút xíu nữa là xong rồi.